Welcome to our Tuesday Zinzino Insights, and we're so glad that you could join us. Stephen is going to talk to us today about two important things, AI and how to use it to our benefit.
The issue here is and I'll begin by saying that we have a consultant that we use to kind of keep us abreast of what's going on in the world of AI. And one of his phrases that we hear over and over again from him is use your tools, use your tools, use your tools. And by that he means our AI tools. And he's not just referring to the tools to learn new things. It's to how to learn in a different way. Because we have to, and I'll again use his words. He's constantly saying, Stephen, Natalie, you're thinking in 2020 thoughts. You have to stop that. You have to start thinking in 2030 thoughts, because in literally less than 5 years, the world will be so much different that if you don't practice now, you will never catch up in terms of being aware of the possibilities and the opportunities and the changes that this world will experience. So in light of that, I thought I would lead you through some exercise that might be helpful to you.
And I
So,
just want to say this hasn't been intuitive for us because
right.
we have been in academics and training,
Yeah.
for decades, doing things differently. There used
Yeah.
to be a time where, you've been chief science officer for 5 different companies. And to manage this kind of data that we have access to now, you would have journal club meetings and assign to different scientists, okay, you have these 10 articles to review and then present on. And now we have all these large language model artificial intelligences
Yeah.
to make things easier for us. And for me, in clinical medicine as a medical doctor,
Right.
it was a similar kind of thing. Where do we search out the information?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in clinical medicine, it used to take 17 years on average for the findings to finally reach us in the clinical practice setting. So the hope, of course, also is that more healthcare professionals are understanding that they need to use these tools so that they can get that information faster and not rely on the system to get them there.
Yeah. So in that regard, let's take a look at an exercise that I ran through this morning. If Natalie, could you bring that up and we can all kind of go through it together? I think it'll be fun. And if it's not fun, raise your hand and say, Stephen, get off it. um, so what I did was I said, I want to show my friends how to use AI for accelerated learning. Please start by exploring the importance of maintaining muscle mass after age 50. And why did I choose this? Because you've heard me say muscle is magic. And that's an interesting phrase, muscle is magic. You've heard me talk about muscle and how critically important it is. But now let's see how AI can help us to understand and implement this information. I outlined or I highlighted the word exploring because when you're talking to AI, whether it's Chatgpt, this was Chatgpt, but it could be Claude, it could be Jasper, it could be Perplexity, any of those. Use the word explore. Tell your AI to explore A, B, and C. And that gives your AI the permission to just go and really dig deep in this. And so what I said was start by exploring the importance of maintaining muscle mass after age 50, include how muscle helps to maintain blood sugar and energy levels, because I wanted to start with something really basic, which is critically important. ChatGPT said, great. Let's build in a way for your friends can both learn the science and see how AI can help them accelerate understanding. I'll start with a clear, engaging explanation of why maintaining muscle mass after age 50 is so important. Then we can layer in examples of how AI tools like me can summarize, generate analogies, And why is generate analogies? Why is that so important? Because that's how we think. We are storytellers, right? In other words, before written language, right? All information was passed on in stories and analogies and ways for the brain to organize information that can then be used in this incredible exploration of the world and the universe around us. So when AI says that I'll develop analogies for you, that is a learning tool that is thousands and thousands of years old. All right. So let's look.
So, for
What?
example, not too long ago, we did the love story
Hmm,
and the analogy of the olive polyphenols and the
yes.
omega-3 fatty acids and this incredibly important intimate relationship they have in
Yes.
helping each other.
Right.
And right now I'm working on an analogy where the oil wears a jacket, which is the olive polyphenols,
Oh, I like it.
making him slash her welcome to any water loving areas, as
Ah,
well as welcome to any fat loving areas.
right.
Very magical jacket.
Magical.
Yep.
Yes.
And that way, the omega-3 olive polyphenol combination that we have in Zinzino, which is so unique and patent protected, is able to get into every cell and every tissue.
Imagine that as opposed to me saying that the molecule has a hydrophobic end and a hydrophilic end. So let's continue really quick. Why muscle mass matters after age 50. And one is muscle as a metabolic engine. I'm loving this language. Muscle as a metabolic engine. After age 50, people naturally lose muscle mass unless they actively prevent it with resistance exercise and good nutrition. Muscle isn't just for strength, it's one of the body's largest metabolic organs. Every contraction burns calories and signals the body to stay in a repair and rebuild mode rather than sliding into decline. Before you guys joined us, we were talking with Frenna about her hip injury and how critically important it was for her to look at managing the inflammation so that that hip could heal. She found that balancing her omega-6 to 3 ratio was critically important. This is how we understand how the rebuild and repair activity of the body is so critical, and muscle mass plays a role. Look at this, muscle and blood sugar control. Now, I'm not going to read through all of this, but muscle blood sugar control, when you consume any kind of starch, all the starches and carbohydrates that you consume are digested and into a molecule called glucose. The glucose signal goes throughout the body primarily by the liver, because the liver's got to manage all of this energy. And the liver then says, "Ooh, we have a lot of glucose coming in." Let's say that you had pasta with braised salmon. All right, so salmon pasta, something that Natalie and I do not a lot, but we do use some gluten-free pasta. We put some salmon in there. So here comes the pasta. The pasta is going to be broken down to the glucose, and then the liver says, "Okay, what do I do with this glucose?" The first place the liver calls up to manage the glucose is what? The liver is going to call up and say, "Hey, muscles, you need any energy? We've got 20 grams of glucose right here, and I need a place to put it." If the muscles say, "Yeah, we just worked out this morning, send that energy to us," then the liver goes, "Got it, here it comes, boom." So now that glucose goes to the muscles that are going to be using it, right? And it doesn't go where? It doesn't go building up in the bloodstream. So what ChatGPT said, muscle and blood sugar control, muscle's the body's biggest reservoir for glucose. When you eat carbohydrates, insulin helps shuttle that glucose into the muscle tissue where it can be stored as glycogen and burned for energy. More muscle mass means better blood sugar control, lower risk of insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. Less muscle means that the glucose stays in the bloodstream and stresses the pancreas and promotes inflammation.
So my
Mm,
story fits into that quite well in that when I weighed 155 pounds, my fasting blood sugar was 105.
Ah,
But now at 164 pounds with much more muscle, my fasting glucose is 89.90.
ah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hooray, muscle.
Muscle. Muscle and energy level. Think of muscle like a battery pack. So here again, we're looking at an analogy which is helping us to understand, oh, the muscle that I'm building and maintaining acts as a battery pack. The more muscle you have, the more glycogen you can store for quick energy, the more mitochondria you support. Muscle is mitochondria rich tissue. Now, we could talk about that forever because that was one of my specialties for years, was actually looking at the number of mitochondria per muscle cell. One of the things I did at UCLA was I would walk around with a pocket full of $100 bills, and I would offer people $100 bill if I could punch a hole in their thigh muscle to extract some cells to measure the number of mitochondria in their muscle cells. What we wanted to do is see the difference between an elite athlete and a sedentary office worker. Now, we had access to lots of elite athletes and we had access to lots of sedentary office workers. And one of the things we discovered was that the average sedentary office worker, and you looked at their muscle cells, you could count the number of mitochondria, and sometimes there was 5 or 10. And then you could walk down the hall into the gym and find an elite athlete, give him or her $100 and take a needle biopsy, all right? Not a little bit of a pinch, a needle biopsy of their muscle and come back to the lab and count hundreds of mitochondria in the same muscle cell. Hundreds. So the question is, what is their life like when you're producing hundreds of times the amount of energy compared to the sedentary office worker?
They have 100 times more energy, so they can eat
Literally.
faster. They can, a moment to them is much shorter than a moment is to me. Yes, it's an entirely different kind of life. And we think about how in this process, we want to have those muscle cells balanced.
Ah,
Yes.
wonderful.
And of course, when the cell membrane is balanced on the outside, that means the cell membranes inside, like around the mitochondria, are balanced and function better.
So
So if I'm
omega 6, omega 3, omega 6, omega 3.
yes.
Here it is.
So whether I'm a person that only has 3 mitochondria per muscle cell or a person that has 300 mitochondria per muscle cell, I need every one of those cells to have that optimal cell membrane
So
composition.
Natalie's tipping you off on the next topic for today, which is the all cell, the every cell approach. But let's finish this real quick. The vicious cycle of muscle loss with muscle mass decline, 1 to 2% per year after age 50. That means less ability to burn glucose, which means gaining fat and elevated blood sugar. How AI can help students learn faster. So here's some fun. AI can summarize information. AI can produce analogies. AI can produce visualizations. She suggests having AI sketch out a simple flow chart showing how muscle goes into glucose, which uptake, which goes into stable energy. No roller coaster energy throughout the day where you're feeling okay, and then you go into this, and then you slam a bunch of coffee to get you through the morning, and then by mid-afternoon you're in a slump. You have stable energy when you have more muscle. Self-testing. Students can ask AI to create flashcards or multiple choice quizzes to check their understanding. And then a student athlete might ask AI, how does maintaining muscle after age 50 compare to what I should focus on at age 20? And get an age-specific answer. And then, of course, ChatGPT says, hey, Stephen, would you like me to create a short student exercise, guided activity, and on and on and on? And I just said, perfect, thanks. I'll start with the above, very helpful. And she still didn't stop. She says, you're welcome. I'm glad that hit the mark. When you're ready to take it further, I can build for you a guided classroom activity, a set of AI prompt templates. I can even create a mini case study on someone over age 50 using resistance training to keep their muscle and energy. So here we go. That was the end of AI lesson number one.
Well,
If you like AI lessons, I'll be happy to do one each week. I said I would keep it to 3 minutes, and I'm over by 1 minute and 30 seconds.
okay,
Natalie.
fair enough. Well, I just, I have some criticisms about
Oh yeah.
the
Okay.
large language model.
Ah,
So you asked it to explore, but from a metabolic medicine perspective, it left so many things out.
yes.
And
I said to focus on muscle as a blood sugar regulating and energy promoting. So, but again,
so I just want to point out that we lead it with our language,
yeah,
like you were saying, the
yeah,
exploring. And when people bring information to the large language model, that will steer it further. So, for example, they could ask it about the role of phycocyanins
ooh, nice.
in muscle health,
Yep.
right? And of course, the omega-6 to omega-3 balance for muscle health, the turmeric, curcumin,
Mhm.
from X Gold, what role does that play for muscle health? And so being more specific will help the large language model to really focus too.
Yeah,
So the broad exploring concept versus let's get down into some really tight
yeah,
details.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right. So you're 3 minutes and you would like to talk about the every cell concept.
I thought you were going to do that.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Well,
I'm happy to do that too. The every cell concept. I'll start. The every
okay.
cell concept is something which we want you to always keep in mind because people are constantly going to be asking you about whether the Zinzino products will help with their arthritis, their type 2 diabetes, their lumpuckaroo. I mean, whatever it is that a person is dealing with, because people that you're talking to are going to be most likely dealing with some um, adverse event in their life, either an injury or an illness. And so they're constantly going to be asking you whether your products are going to be able to help them with that particular issue. Since you're not doctors, and even if you were a doctor, we don't want you talking about the products in relation to the treatment of diseases. So what do? You always know that there is what we call the every cell approach. You simply say, those the issues related to let's see, let's say it's our arthritis. Your joints are made up of cells. In terms of joints, we're talking about cells of cartilage, we're talking about cells of muscle, tendons, and ligaments that are holding that joint together. Well, all those tissues are made out of cells, and each one of those cells, you can improve the function of every one of those cells by balancing your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. So the every cell approach brings you always right back to how you can improve the function of the cells that comprise whatever tissue they're referring to. That makes sense? Including the immune system. I mean, you talk to people and they've got immune system problems. All right. They either have a low, poorly functioning immune system or an immune system that is confused. We call that autoimmunity, in which case you talk about the immune system is made up of
Cells.
cells, and each one of those cells, you can improve the function of each one of those cells by balancing the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio.
And of course, as we've talked about the science behind these products, and how every cell benefits from that. So, of course, we lead with the balance test,
Yes.
because it
Yes.
really does correlate with cellular function.
Yes.
And then the solution for the problem, because we know that 97% of the population of our planet is out of balance. And here in the North
How
America,
do we know that? Oh, a study was just published.
global variations, yes. Thank you from our Zinzino team.
Yes. Published in Lipids and Health and Disease. You should have that available on your cell phone. You should have it available on your whenever you're talking to people, because the study, it can be discussed at length because the study does not talk about diseases. The study simply identifies the areas that there is a global deficiency of omega-3 fatty acids, because the study looked at over 500,000 subjects from what 80 different countries, and the deficiency of omega-3 fats was widespread around the globe. And who did this study? Your research group did this study. Your research group did this study showing that there is a global deficiency of omega-3 fats. In order to find out if you are deficient, we have a test that you can use to find out if you are deficient in these critically important essential fats. And then, of course, as Natalie said, you have the solution to that deficiency, which is the products that Zinzino sells.
Yes. If I had, had access to this when I was in clinical medicine, I would have done the balance test, the vitamin D test, the hemoglobin A1C test, and of course, the soon to come gut health test on every one of my clients because it really does relate back to the every cell concept. Yep. Oh, David, thank you. Can we use phycosi, um, X Gold, spirulina pills along with our Zinzino products, Oil Extend, Vitamin D, Viva Protect, Xenobiotic, Collagen Boost, and Xenogene? Yes, even more good stuff. So we love how the phycosi helps improve energy of cells by addressing the underlying inflammatory response. And for us, we notice just this nice, refreshing, uplifting sensation. It's a different kind of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the X Gold, I'm so happy that we're talking to Frenna how she likes to warm it up and have it as a beverage that way. Thank you, Frenna.
And she put some ginger in there too, if I remember correctly.
Is that right, Jen?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Um, so better beverages to choose from.
Yeah.
Yay. Um, and then of course the spirulina pills, I have started taking those and I notice more energy because of it being another nutrient dense supplement for me. And it's easy to take and yeah, so I am taking, let's see. Yes, I'm taking all of those myself too. Better living.
So we're not going to overdose on anything by taking all of these products in a day.
No.
All right, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I love how people have these kind of questions and concerns about supplements. And in my clinical practice, no one ever came to me and said, "Now I eat the Doritos corn chips and the potato chips. Will I be getting too much?" Yeah. So, but thank you for that question. Revo is amazing too. Thank you, Susan. To synergistically go along the balance product. Yes. Yes, it works with the balance oil due to antioxidant rich. Correct? This is how it seems to work. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Susan.
But again, the polyphenols have two benefits. One is two main benefits. One is the anti-inflammatory benefits, and the other is the um, uh, antioxidant benefits. And when you think of those two forces in human physiology, you always come back to this: the damage and repair seesaw. All right, as we age, repair capacity declines and damage tends to accelerate. What happens is, well, what are these damaging forces? What is over here on the D side of the seesaw? The two most damaging forces are inflammation and oxidative stress. Well, the nice thing about polyphenols is they dramatically improve your repair capacity because they push down so nicely on damage. So if the two damaging forces, primary damaging forces, are inflammation and oxidative stress, and you can deal with both of those with something as delicious as Revo, all right? I tend to pour it on my toast. Natalie tends to take it by the spoonful. Either way you do it, Revo is a great way to add more polyphenols to your diet.
Yes. And if you go to my channel, Natalie Cherniske on YouTube, you'll see our olive polyphenol video that I just put up. It's the edited version. And what we do is we go through this diagram that was
That's a
created.
beautiful diagram.
It's very beautiful. where we go through each one of these circles. And as you can see, there's no diseases mentioned on here. This is just wonderful, nerdy science, looking at all these individual issues, plasma lipoproteins, so the good cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, triglycerides, looking at the roles that it plays for platelet function. We know that that's important for patching up where things are damaged, but don't patch up areas that aren't damaged.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what happens if you look at this chart and you look at something and you say, okay, markers of inflammation, I, TXB2, LXB1, arachidonic acid. Ooh, I know, I've heard that term before. COX-1 and COX-2. You could take any one of those and go to your AI tools and just say, hey, good morning, ChatGPT. Please tell me more about the effect of olive polyphenols and arachidonic acid. And you could say to your ChatGPT, put it in language that a 10-year-old would understand. And ChatGPT will do exactly that. Or you could say, ChatGPT, give me the intricate details, the physiology and the biochemistry details of arachidonic acid and how it interacts with olive polyphenols. And your ChatGPT will give it to you as in depth as you could ever want. But you could do it, and if you ask your tool, your AI tool, and you don't get exactly what you want, keep at it, because your AI tool is there to be your servant in helping you understand. And the more you understand, the better your life will be. Now, do we know that to be true? Yeah, we do. One of my professors long, long ago said something which I'll never forget, which is if people knew better, they would do better. And that's true on a subconscious level. Listen to this. Your brain has an incredible amount of influence over your body, not only consciously, but subconsciously. And we know that to be true. There have been studies showing that when people understand what's going on in their body, that part of their body functions better. It's really intriguing. And you can tap into that by using your tools, in this case, ChatGPT or any of the other AI tools. You can use your AI tools to give you a deeper, clearer understanding of any part of your physiology, whatever that is, whether it's your muscles, your immune system, the ability of your diet choices to make changes and improvements in your health. All of that can be explored. And when you go to your ChatGPT, remember, you can ask them anything. If they give you some information that you want to explore deeper, you just go there. If they give you information which you don't quite understand and you want a humorous story to demonstrate that fact, your ChatGPT will make up a humorous story to tell you exactly how that information fits into a humorous story, if that's the way you want to learn at that point in the day.
All right, our last question, and it's about connective tissue.
One of my favorite
yes,
areas.
this person is wondering about products that are a good choice for anyone that has connective tissue issues. And it makes sense to be on the health protocol. So yes, we need to get you into balance and keep you in the green zone balance on your balance test with the balance products like Balance Oil or the capsules Ascent. But also in the health protocol, we need to make sure you're getting good gut health with xenobiotic and of course nutrient density with Extend. And then I think if you haven't done it yet, you got to do your vitamin D test because vitamin D is so important for connective tissue. And really,
connective tissue, tendons, ligaments, joints, bones, skin.
Yep. It's the every cell concept, right? But as we talk more about connective tissue, the collagen boost. Yeah.
Connective tissue, a tremendous amount of collagen in all connective tissue. And we lose collagen as we age. So thank you, Natalie, for always bringing in the collagen factor, because connective tissue, tendons, ligaments, joints, and bones, and skin are all heavily relying on collagen for their tensile strength. Tensile strength, the ability to stretch and bend, right? Which we tend to lose as we get older.
And then you want to make sure that you have good control over the underlying causes of inflammation, and you're doing that smartly with the balance oil. But we would also like to recommend Frenna's drink, the hot Goldie of X Gold and some ginger, because that's another great way of managing inflammation. And so these are important connective tissue things to start with. So I could go on, but I don't want to overwhelm you. It's the every cell concept. So if you're worried about connective tissue, remember it's a whole body experience as well. Thank you for your time, and we love you, and take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Natalie and Steve. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Love you guys. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Great information. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.